The biggest hurdle that Caitlin Clark needs to overcome, the biggest obstacle holding Caitlin Clark back from picking up where she left off after her rookie season, after her career at Iowa, the biggest obstacle in the way of her returning to that form is her head coach.
Did Stephanie White just say the quiet part out loud? In her postseason sit-down, the Fever head coach called Kelsey Mitchell the franchise's #1 priority, and fans heard it as, "This is Kelsey's team, not Caitlin Clark's." Within hours, executives were reportedly furious, social feeds exploded, and a simmering locker room divide boiled over in public. Tonight, what was said, why it matters, and how one sentence could change the Indiana Fever's future.
I've also said that I believe if you gave Stephanie White truth serum, she would actually tell you she believes this team was better without Caitlin Clark. I believe that. And I felt that way for quite some time. I believe that she believes that Kelsey Mitchell is the superstar on this team.
Let's be clear, Kelsey Mitchell is a baller. 8 years in, relentless, reliable, and respected. But there's an unavoidable fact. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation economic and basketball engine. The Fever didn't stumble into back-to-back #1 picks by accident. They were at the bottom. Then Clark arrived, and the entire organization's gravity shifted.
Now, Kelsey Mitchell is a very important piece. She's part of the big three. But there's only one Jordan-like generational talent on this team, and it's Caitlin Clark. The fact is, Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, they were around before Caitlin showed up. And they got the #1 overall pick to get Caitlin Clark. What does that tell you?
In that interview, Stephanie White praised Kelsey as the piece to continue building around, highlighting how Mitchell carried this franchise through the tough years and deserves this stage. On paper, that reads like loyalty. In practice, it sounded like defiance of the new reality. The Fever marketed, monetized, and messaged Caitlin Clark as the cornerstone.
The #1 priority was to land Kelsey in free agency again. Just how important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the #1 priority a year ago, and she's the #1 priority this year. She's been so important. And, I said this last year, Kelsey deserves to go through this stage of her Indiana Fever career.
As soon as the clip hit the timeline, it lit a fuse. Fans clipped it. Analysts debated it. Headlines framed it as a choice, Kelsey or Caitlin. Inside the building, you can imagine the reaction. Ownership and the front office have spent 12 months aligning every lever, scheduling, marketing, partnerships behind Clark's star power. Then your head coach goes on record suggesting the priority is someone else. That's not just a soundbite, that's a strategic collision.
But what people have been pointing out lately is that Stephanie White's allegiance to Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie White's allowance of Kelsey Mitchell to have a green light we could only dream that Caitlin Clark has it.
Caitlin isn't merely a box score phenomenon. She's attendance spikes, rating surges, merch runs, sponsors who never looked at the WNBA suddenly writing checks. For a mid-market franchise trying to reclaim relevance, that's lifeblood. So when your coach signals this is Kelsey's team, it introduces brand confusion at best, and at worst, it sounds like pushing against the very momentum that saved everybody's job.
Kelsey Mitchell's green light is far greener than Caitlin Clark's. Kelsey Mitchell's able to get away with things on the basketball court that Caitlin Clark cannot get away with because of the green light that Stephanie White has given her.
Now, let's talk human dynamics. Clark's arrival brought cameras, storylines, and pressure. Veterans who grinded through the losing years can feel overshadowed. That's normal. It's also a leadership test. You either channel that spotlight into a shared identity, or you divide the room into camps. And the camps here feel obvious. Pre-Clark loyalty versus the Clark-era future.
And Stephanie White played along with this when she said the team's more dangerous without Caitlin, okay. When she said that it's a blessing that she's in, okay. But more specifically, when she was asked through the season, once Caitlin Clark won her ESPY award, Stephanie White was asked about this, and instead of boasting about Caitlin Clark, instead of gushing over Caitlin Clark, instead of hyping up her player, she brushed over Caitlin Clark's achievement, and she saw this as an opportunity to bring up players that nobody cared about in the past.
This isn't just about media narratives. It's basketball. Clark's strengths are pace, spacing, deep gravity, and live dribble creation. When you lean into that, everyone eats Kelsey as a secondary attacker, Aaliyah Boston as a paint finisher, kickouts for shooters, two-man actions that bend defenses. But if your philosophy is slower, more conservative, more equal touches, you can accidentally neutralize the very ceiling Clark unlocks.
So even when asked with a direct question about Caitlin Clark's achievements, Stephanie White found a way to skirt over it and bring up people in the past. Downplaying just to uplift others. It is what it is.
Could White have simply meant, "We value Kelsey, don't let her walk"? Possibly. Coaches advocate for their vets all the time. But wording matters when a franchise has been laser-focused on one message. Caitlin Clark is the pillar. When the head coach reframes the pillar, fans hear it, players feel it, and executives have to manage the fallout.
I like Kelsey Mitchell. I'm not trying to dog out Kelsey Mitchell, but she's the clear number 2 option on this team. All right? And everything should run through Caitlin Clark. Now, I got to tell you, I'm not going nuts because other people notice this as well. All right? Let me just scroll down here. So Stephanie White basically is saying this is Kelsey's team now. Wow.
The public reaction told the story. Hashtag surged. Some fans defended White's loyalty. Many more asked a simple question. How does a coach downplay the star who changed the franchise's trajectory in one season? Silence from Clark's camp only amplified support. She's played it classy, no subtweets, no sniping, just hoops, and that contrast made the comment land even harder.
Fever have Caitlin Clark under contract for 2 more years, so she is not a priority, is what Stephanie White just said. If this is true, then the whole Fever organization needs to change along with the coach.
At the end of the day, teams follow incentives. The Fever's ticket dashboards, sponsorship decks, and national broadcast meetings all have Clark in bold. That doesn't diminish Kelsey. It acknowledges market reality. Any public messaging that muddies that waters is costly. That's why you're hearing front office furious. It's not just ego, it's economics. There's also a power hierarchy angle. Coaches protect their locker rooms. Front offices protect the brand and the long game. When those priorities misalign, you get friction. White's comment read like a plant the flag moment. We still answer to the locker room, not the marketing deck. Admirable in theory. Risky when your superstar is the marketing deck and the best player. If the Fever truly build around Kelsey, expect more sets with Kelsey as the initiator, Clark spaced or decoyed, and Boston used as a release valve. Not a bad offense, but a capped one. The elite version of Indy runs through Clark's gravity, empty corner PNR with Boston, pistol actions to get downhill, Spain pick and rolls to punish switches, and early offense threes that force teams to pick their poison. This leads us to the 2 paths that lie before us. Path 1, back White's framing. Spin it as we're a Kelsey and Caitlin team, stress balance and hope the noise dies. Risk, you confuse the brand and clip your ceiling. Path 2, recenter the message. Publicly affirm Clark as the franchise pillar while praising Kelsey as essential co-star. Privately align playbook and personnel to Clark's strengths. Risk, bruised egos if not messaged with care.
We got Stephanie White sort of telling on herself here. I have not lost sight of the fact that when Caitlin Clark got injured, Stephanie White called it a, quote, blessing in disguise.
Do I think this one quote gets a coach fired? No, but it creates a performance trigger. If next season starts rocky, this comment becomes Exhibit A in any philosophy misalignment discussion. If they start hot ball zipping, rolls clear, wins stacking, the clip fades as background noise. Fans aren't dumb. They watched the Fever go from quiet nights to sold-out environments because of one player. They don't need a press release to know who the centerpiece is. What they want is honesty and alignment. Let Caitlin be Caitlin. Empower Kelsey to feast on the defensive attention Clark draws, and let Boston dominate simplified reads at the rim. That trio, Clark, Mitchell, Boston, can be terrifying when the system serves the star and elevates the co-stars. Here's how Indy calms the waters fast. Message clarity. Caitlin is our franchise pillar. Kelsey is our priority co-star. Boston is our anchor. No ambiguity. Scheme alignment. Build a pace-space playbook that starts with Clark's gravity. Internal buy-in. Private meeting coach, leadership, star trio, GM. Air it out. Agree on language and roles. External tone. Celebrate Kelsey's loyalty and growth without positioning it against Clark. It's with, not instead of. If Indy lets this fester, the risk isn't just social media noise, it's trust erosion. The worst version is passive-aggressive basketball. Hesitations, split seconds of doubt, stale possessions. In a league decided by 2 or 3 empty trips, misalignment costs games, and narratives get ugly fast. Kelsey Mitchell deserves respect. She earned a seat at the table, but Caitlin Clark is the table. She changes the geometry of the floor and the economics of the franchise. The smart move is obvious. Caitlin as the centerpiece, Kelsey as the killer secondary, Boston as the finisher. Put ego aside, aim the system at your ceiling, and the wins follow. I want to hear from you. If you're the Fever, who do you build around next season, and what does that offense look like? Drop your 5-man closing lineup and the 2 actions you'd spam in crunch time. I'll pin the best ones. What happens next? Look for 3 tells. Ron Z. Media day language. Do we hear Caitlin's team from leadership? Early play calls. First 6 minutes. Whose hands? Which actions? What pace? Late game identity. Is the last shot a Clark-Boston 2-man game with Kelsey lifting, or is Caitlin spacing in the corner? If the answers point to Clark as the hub and Kelsey as the hammer, this clip becomes a footnote. If not, buckle up. If you love deep dive WNBA coverage, hit like, smash subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. And seriously, tell me below, Team Caitlin as centerpiece or Team Kelsey. Make your case and give me the X's and O's.